So how to scale AI in your organization? Moving from a POC to a fully operational AI solution. It requires to overcome a series of hurdles from AI trustworthiness, from governance, from security, but also the model operations, also known as ModelOps. So today we have the pleasure to talking to an AI industry veteran, I think, Josh Elliot. You're the head of operations at Modzy, and you're here to discuss how to scale AI. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So many organizations, they're able to set up a POC, an AI POC, but they struggle to scale AI. Why is a scalable AI process so important? And can you share some experience how to scale it within your organization?
Absolutely. So let's consider the life cycle of an AI model first. It generally includes activities associated with data preparation, model training and evaluation, deployment, and monitoring. And up until recently, all of the attention has been focused really on those first two steps in that life cycle. Empowering data science teams to build really cool models. The problem is that while those models may be fascinating, there's a disconnect in both the expertise and experience around the deployment, orchestration, and monitoring of those models. And it's creating a significant model debt. You see in recent studies that claim nearly half of AI models that are built in the lab never actually see a production application, or that it takes on average 9 months for a single model to deliver results. So, as expected, a lot of the attention recently has been focused on the missing link in the process called ModelOps, which really scales the model deployment and monitoring steps in that lifecycle I mentioned. ModelOps allows you to apply the same rigor that you see in DevOps techniques like CI/CD pipelining, iterating and managing AI systems, and basically decreasing the time to value and enabling faster iteration to field new AI capabilities and move the risk to the left.
Yeah, you were addressing this research where only or nearly half of the models will make it, and it takes even 9 months, which means it's definitely not easy. It's even maybe sometimes complex, and you see that organizations, they are struggling to make it transparent, to make it trustable, but also to provide a secure setup and managing the operation, as you mentioned. Can you share your experience on these type of challenges that they will see within their organization if they go through such a process?
Absolutely. And I think it's first important to note and recognize that there really is a lot of great experimentation happening in the lab environments today. The problem is that the real world is messy and it presents dynamic problem sets as well as rigid software architectures and inconsistent and even constrained IT and network environments. And it's very difficult to simulate these types of characteristics in a lab environment. So, if you recall that number earlier about 50% of successful AI projects, that number is low for a variety of reasons. But typically it's because, data scientists aren't system engineers or software developers, and they don't have the skills or expertise to design models that are practical or will actually scale in production. And vice versa, software engineers rarely have the machine learning expertise to design applications around principles like what you call transparency, explainability, and accountability. And in addition to that skill gap and that handoff, many organizations don't have the processes, the tools, and technologies in place to iterate and deploy new AI capabilities quickly. And they're having to recreate or create for the first time this process for every single model. And like I said, it takes on average 9 months to get to a production application. Another challenge area is that there's no centralized management for deploying and monitoring models. Teams today operate in very siloed environments, which leads to inefficiencies and wasted resources. I also think that, unfortunately, organizations have been taking a laissez-faire approach to AI governance. They need to ensure that leadership has the insight into what models are running in their organization, the performance of those models, and who's doing what, where, and when. Also, cost management is an important challenge area. When you're running machine learning models, the infrastructure costs can actually easily skyrocket if you don't have a mechanism in place to manage and control how and when and how much of a model is actually run. Then you have security. And the approach to deploying and managing AI today follows a hierarchy of needs. Teams are focused on deploying and managing which leaves very, very much room for security vulnerabilities to be introduced. So security must be an integral part to model management. ModelOps platforms like the one that I help run at Modzy ensures that defense-grade security mechanisms are inextricably linked to the platform. And also, we need to think about security at the model level because models are vulnerable in their own ways to attacks, like data poisoning or even model stealing. So we're doing quite a bit of research right now into how models behave, both from an adversarial defense perspective, but also explainability, which is allowing us to better secure them because you have greater understanding of what's happening inside the models.
And you were explaining this siloed approach and the security, the cost as three main challenges and where ModelOps really can help. But can you explain how you can apply ModelOps successfully to innovate faster, to innovate with a better customer experience and deliver all kinds of great new AI-driven services?
Absolutely. So I already mentioned that ModelOps provides the missing link in the process or the lifecycle to move AI models from the lab to production systems and applications. But what we haven't discussed is the role of bringing business leaders and executives into the conversation and decision-making process around AI. By enabling greater insight into how AI models are being used and performing across the enterprise, leaders and executives can track and understand the value that they're getting out of their AI investments. So providing insight into and a better sense of overall AI performance across the organization, things like detecting model drift and identifying when retraining is actually needed, teams can start applying some of that structure and that rigor to the model management process, enabling more trustworthy AI in the use of production systems.
I think it's great to bring in, indeed, the higher management and have this bridge between higher management and the data scientist and have more transparency within the communication. Josh, thank you for sharing your recent experiences. And for the audience, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.